Well, hello everybody, and welcome to I don't have this thing taking the whole screen, the Ad Hoc Senior Housing Committee for Deerfield. And this is our March 25th meeting. And I would like to share with you all that certain meetings normally held at municipal offices are being held remotely with adequate alternative means of public access where required public participation provided in accordance with House Bill number 62 of the 194th General Court, which extended the governor's March 12, 2020 orders suspending certain provisions of open meeting law, Master General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 20 until June 30th, 2027. Our meetings are typically rebroadcast on Frontier Community Access Television, except I believe these meetings are actually shared on the Deerfield YouTube channel. But I'm not entirely certain of where they go. We share them with the world. Here comes Pam. Excellent. All right, I am going to take a roll call. Blake Gilmore.
Here.
Okay. Kathy Sylvester.
Here.
Carolyn Ness.
Here.
Pam Predmore.
Here.
And we have one guest tonight who looks to be Holly Lankowski. It says Holly L, but I'm betting that's who it is. If I'm wrong, can you put it in the chat, please, Holly? Okay, so on our agenda is an RFP status, which there's nothing really to say, which I guess is good. I don't know. Then next was the Conway School update from Kathy and Lily. And Kathy had to miss the last meeting, but they did a presentation to the ZBA, I believe it was, that was really impressive. The final report will be provided after they get their spring break, I guess, next week. But they did a really excellent job identifying zoning and bylaws that we could maybe tweak that would enable us to do more housing, certainly in the Central Village District and residential districts. And one of the things I learned that is very intriguing about accessory dwelling units is that our septic regulations are much more stringent than the state's, and that perhaps there is an opportunity that if we aligned ours with the state's, that we would be able to do ADUs on shared septic, which would completely change the whole possibilities for a lot of people in Deerfield. So
We could do that, Lily, but I just want to say that one of the reasons we're more strict is because we actually don't have a lot of area that's perked, that is not, where it's easy to build, it doesn't perk. It
well,
doesn't perk
we're talking
well.
about
So,
ADUs being on existing septic systems, so they're already done. That's the point.
So Lily,
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is you've got to look at the usage. In other words, if
Yes.
you've already got a house that's at full capacity for that
Right.
septic system, you can't put the ADU on that.
Absolutely. But we have a lot of houses, like my own, with the empty nesters, right? That if there was an ADU, boy, I'd move into into that. And you could put in a couple into my house or something like that. So I mean, you're absolutely right that you got to figure out the capacity and so as to be able to do it. But it could potentially open it up to especially because we know that there are so many older farmers who can't afford to move out of their house, kind of a thing. But if they could put an ADU on there for a caregiver, or even a young adult out of college who needs a place to afford to be able to live, kind of a thing. So it's so I'm working with Alex Galloway, the town planner, to investigate that, and we're talking to what's his name? Is it Ned? Hang on. Our health, or the inspector. So believe me, we are totally
he's a
keeping
new health agent.
Ned Savisky. Yes, the new health agent.
Yep.
And so we've already contacted him, and we will totally be talking to him about it, believe me, before we go proposing anything. But it was interesting to learn that. And when the Conway School evaluated all these things, they looked at like state development requirements, like parking and frontage and things like that. And then they looked at Deerfield, and we are so much more restrictive in so many, many ways. So um, they will present, all this information to like the planning board, and they can look at frontage, they can look at, frontage bylaws, they can look at parking bylaws, which we are much more stringent on. And I will just say for senior housing, that could be a real benefit because you don't need a car, a parking space per bedroom or whatever it is, right? So they certainly found some interesting spots for us to explore. Um, what else from the Conway School? Kathy, you got anything that you can think of?
I did not see the wrap up about, it was just because I had to work.
Yeah.
So the last this week, and I was gone last week, so I missed the last two.
Well, they got a lot of maps, which I love maps. But they did some really impressive overlay. They took in soil values and transportation and where the sewer runs and all kinds of stuff. So it was really pretty impressive, and hopefully will not only be impressive but will be useful as well. So the next thing on our agenda is the state response. I finally got an email back, and I will forward it to all of you. But basically, they're like, oh, gee, we were waiting to hear from you, which was not my understanding from that meeting at all. And I checked with Alex. She said I'm not crazy. They were supposed to be getting back to us about our RFP, but it's a good thing we moved on with ours. But basically, it was, hey, you guys are doing great work. Good luck. And that was it. And, oh, you might want to consider following up with the farm, with the agriculture area or whatever. So Alex and I are starting to talk about that. Um, I'm going to go to my notes from my meeting with Alex here.
One thing that I was thinking of suggesting, I have to reach out to Ann Goby for the mosquito district because
Mhm.
we're trying to do some work with the Berkshire Mosquito District. So she's wonderful. So maybe, I'll talk to her. Okay. She's our, rural affairs person.
Okay,
I think you've
great.
met her.
Yeah,
She's really good.
that would be
So
great. I think that what Alex told me is that FERCog is working on a farmland protection planning program. And I said, well, senior housing should be part of that conversation. I mean, not necessarily us, but I'm hoping that they're thinking of the fact that housing the old farmers is an important part of that conversation. If you want to protect the farmland, you got to protect the farmers, right?
Can you
And
repeat what they're working on? I'm sorry, I'm doing the notes and I missed that.
farmland protection planning program. FERCog is working on that. I said we would be happy to be a pilot to, to figure some of this stuff out. Um, so the long and short of the state response is we're on our own, frankly, and um, I don't know if we lost some of our oomph because we lost Natalie too. But with everything else going on in the world and with every community looking at, it seems like every community is looking at Prop 2.5 overrides. Everybody's getting slammed by the healthcare costs, all that kind of stuff. I think we are not considered the most urgent matter. We're not on fire, and a lot of other
no,
places are.
I agree. But
I mean, we're not going to stop or give up, but I'm just saying that I don't expect us to get any help from the state except what we generate for ourselves. Okay? All right. But there is some good news. Hang in there. Don't despair. Um, Alex Galloway, who blows me away, I have to say, has been working with FERCog and submitted Deerfield to be eligible for the Rural and Small Town Housing Community of Choice grants. And I looked at those requirements. I'm like, I don't see how we are eligible, but it looks like we are. Thanks to that, she was working with a woman. What did she say her
I
name
thought we
was?
weren't either. We looked
I
at that
thought,
lady.
yeah, but Mackenzie Bell, who is the state person, sent her an email saying, like, I can't say it absolutely, but it looks like you are eligible. So this is huge because we can get up to $500,000 grant for housing and stuff. So before this meeting, I was looking at what all the possibilities are, and Alex said that go and look at what kind of grant, go and look at what we should apply for. Um, so the problem is, and Blake, you have to not wear your select board hat for a second, okay? That it is entirely possible that we could use this grant to, for example, enhance the town wastewater treatment plant to build one of those um, tanks where we could put septic, effluent in and pre-process it before it goes into that, which would be a benefit to everybody in town, but you only get one application. So I'm like, I'm gonna look at it for senior housing, but because if you can make the case that this will benefit housing, which if you can support septic systems in town, and if we were to demonstrate that we are modifying our septic bylaws and stuff, all with the thought of promoting ADUs, then that would
Well,
potentially be.
actually, that's really serious because one of the things that people have to worry about is pumping, the
Yeah,
cost of pumping. And it costs, it's a yearly huge expense for a
yep,
lot of people because they have marginal septic systems already.
yeah,
So you cannot put an ADU on probably 3/4 of the septic systems that exist right now because they are already pumping.
yeah.
And that's a huge expense. So if we can uh, do it
We need to
locally.
tie it together, right?
I
So,
mean, there's still going to be a cost because you got to get rid of that
oh,
sludge when it's done.
right,
But to do it locally process it is probably a third or a quarter of the cost that people are paying right now. So if you had a marginal septic system and you have to pump it and you want to put an ADU on, then you're going to have to pump it more.
right.
This is a huge
This
reduction in
could
cost.
this could be a way to do it.
Yeah.
And
But
that was, I will say that was Alex's idea, and that's how she is
Where,
so bright.
Lily, where would you put this?
So, when we were going through the whole process of doing the whole new wastewater treatment plant, one of the things we tried to get, and we asked them to put the infrastructure in to support it, and there's enough space, but call it a block. It's a pre-processing place where you could dump the effluent from the septic, and it would be pre-processed and then go right into our wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah,
So,
we've been talking about that at the select board level as well. We were down there looking at that.
so
The
how
other
much
thing
would
is,
that cost? Do you know?
nobody ever came up with a cost for it because we have parts that we can use, so wouldn't cost us the whole
Mm,
amount. So this has been something that's been batted back and forth. We're still trying to figure it out.
well,
Carolyn, what I was looking at was that, um, I don't know the right term to call it, but what Melnick's got on his farm, where they're putting the waste in
Oh,
there
a
and
digester.
the
yeah,
A
digester.
an
digester.
anaerobic digester.
And I was asking Bahanowitz is the guy that runs that over there. And I was asking him, can we do that with human waste? And he said, absolutely. And
Really?
that's what he said. So, I mean, I haven't gotten any reports or anything back. I just talked to him. I haven't gone back to find out because, I asked,
That might be cheaper in the long run than adding, because you still have the expense of putting the sludge, hauling away the sludge. So it's not, even if you put on, I think the cheapest that we saw was like 200,000 or 300,000 to do this additional thing. And then it wouldn't be free. People have to pay a certain amount because, and we have to kind of arrange because you have some septics that have more liquid than other septics, so you have a difference in sludge.
Yep.
But you still have to haul away sludge, which is a
So-
huge expense for
Right.
us as a town.
But
So,
all right. But one challenge with human waste is the chemicals that we ingest,
yeah,
right? And those are not treated in our wastewater even, right? The antibiotics and the
that's why it's so
antidepressants
expensive to
and,
get rid of it. Yeah.
yeah. And
so
then
that probably then the bacteria wouldn't be able to grow.
exactly the anaerobic digesters might well, they'd be
Yeah.
happy maybe if they got the antidepressant
Well,
patch.
no, cows are on antibiotics and stuff
That's
too, but
true, yeah.
it's not,
Yeah.
it's at least Melnick's
Okay.
cows are because
Yeah.
they're not organic. But you do have to, I mean, there's certain different things for human
Right. Human waste is different.
processing
Yeah.
that
Okay.
is different from animal processing.
Okay, I'm going to call meeting drift a little bit. I just wanted to bring that up as this could be yet another way forward.
It's definitely something to explore, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that we can get grants up to 500,000. We have to decide fairly quick because that application is due June 1st. So, and it's not up to us per se to say how we're going to apply for it, but if nobody else is coming up with ideas for how to apply for it, I mean, we can certainly come up with some, right?
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
think people would really appreciate it though, Lily, and you would get general support because the cost of pumping is skyrocketing.
Yep. Yeah, it's not going to get any lower, is it? So
No.
that's a possibility. The other thing is that maybe we could use the $500,000 to place a couple of buildings. Like I'm just going to use backyard ADUs as an example because I know there's stuff, but it wouldn't necessarily be them. That these prefab small homes, complete, that we could, if we can find a spot that's on the sewer, we could probably get two of those for $500,000. And there just happens to be a piece of land owned by the town at the very, very tip of North Main Street. Do you all remember when we did our land
Yours.
survey?
That's a rural property.
Yeah, but it's not on it's not on sewer.
Sewer? But the sewer
No.
must come really close, right?
You got the tracks though. Does it go
You have
does it
to
go
you
under
have
the
to figure out
tracks?
how to get over the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
That's why those septics have all failed. North of between the railroad tracks and 5 and 10. That in those, everyone has raised septic or failure. Like the one
Oh.
house on the corner is the one that is sending stuff down into the Bloody Brook. But whatever.
Yeah, you're talking on the north side of the intersection, the one that they worked so hard on recently across from the rock and fossil place.
No. Well, that one's probably failed too.
Oh, okay.
But the one on the corner there, that little corner that's always has a flooded field.
Yeah,
is-
okay.
That's the little house. It's right on the corner, right,
Yeah.
Carolyn?
Yeah, yeah. The house further down the street, they put a new raised septic system in.
Right.
That because theirs failed too.
But anyway, but
Few
that's
years-
something for $500,000. If we got a $500,000 grant, we could probably get two 450 square foot ADUs and pay for their Turkey Hill septic system.
I don't know.
But that would be two.
The rural lot is on the other side, so that's a different. It just seems like the rural lot is bigger because you forget 50 feet of it is state highway too, Lily. So you got a like a little strip.
Well,
Yeah.
I
So
think
I
with the
don't,
rotary going in there, they're gonna be cutting into that property as well.
No, we looked. That's what Alex and I were looking at that, and it looks like it would be fine. And the DOT was talking about doing their wetlands mitigation on the north side, so not that side. Um, anyway, just throwing spaghetti at the wall right now. But this is great because we're
I'm not saying it's not a bad idea in the
yeah,
sense that it's only two bedrooms, one ADU bedroom each. So if you could do a shared septic, you're only talking two bedrooms. It could be basically pretty small footprint for a
yep,
septic system.
yep.
So I don't know. Well,
Well,
you just have to see if it would perk.
Carolyn, the other thing is those prefab houses, they are a lot cheaper than if you have them custom built. We had one built down on the Cape, and the cost of it came in that was probably well over a third, almost close to half of what it would have cost, and the thing was up in 2 days.
Right.
Yeah.
So and that was a 3-story building that we
Oh,
did.
wow. Wow.
So,
Wow. Well, it just depends if it perks or not. You'd have to see, Lily.
Yeah, that's true.
the
But
3-story isn't a big deal. It's because it's sitting on a postage stamp lot, so you had to go up because you
yeah,
couldn't go out.
yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, if we could get two senior houses in, 2 1 bedrooms, right? I mean, you could almost walk to the center village from there, right? If you were in decent shape and um but it's not a scary drive. In other words, you don't have to get on 91 to go to town. But anyway, so there's what we need to do is to um, come up with different grant possibilities, and we need to bring them to the select board and get the select board to tell us, okay, this is what we think you should pursue. Um, so, and they do like to see some skin in the game on the part of the town. So if it's town-owned land, that's our skin in the game, right? Um, but anyway, so I mean, I've been reviewing the grant stuff. Um, so start thinking, you guys. Just think. And next meeting, we're going to start writing down ideas, and maybe what I'll do is actually create a doc on the Google Drive and share the link with you for everybody. Just throw your ideas there. Okay? What could we do with $500,000? And I do think we should add the sewer.
This is state money,
Yep,
Lily. This is
yep,
state money,
state
right?
money.
Okay.
So that's
Because
yeah,
the farm bill's coming out, just got out of committee. I don't know because of the war. I don't know how
yeah.
fast it's going to go, but it did pass unanimously in the House. It's at the Senate right now, and that USDA is part of, obviously, of the farm bill. The Rural Development Corporation, and they are getting twice as much money because the Trump took away the IRA money, the infrastructure money, but he couldn't, because it was appropriated, he couldn't like refund it somewhere else. So it's coming back into the farm bill, and USDA is getting that money. So
Oh, interesting.
I'll track down and see if there's any we might qualify if we're qualifying under the state rural
Yeah,
housing, we
yeah.
might qualify under their rural housing.
That would be
And
sweet, Caroline.
that grant could be a match for a federal grant.
Yeah. And then we were looking
So,
at close to $1 million.
yeah, well,
Maybe.
theirs would be more money.
Okay.
We just have to have come up with a match.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Okay.
I'll see what
Yeah, if you would
opportunities are.
look into that and see what if anything sparks your imagination. Okay.
Yeah, I'll call Jim McGovern's office and find out
Okay.
what is in there for sure, for housing. Because I'm not as familiar with that as the conservation stuff.
Yeah. And I do want us to pursue, if FERCog's looking at this, farm planning thing, and supposedly the state is into preserving our farmland, and we're into preserving our farmers, our old farmers. There's got to be a way that we can get some help with this. And in a way, it's mostly that, like, if we were able to go to RDI and say, look, the state is interested in this project and will, if we focus on old farmers, we'll throw in $1 million or something like that. You know what I mean? I've been attending the mass housing seminars over the last few weeks, and that it's just really clear. You need funding from, like, I think Sunderland was like 12 different sources, kind of a thing. And it's not usually the job of the committee to come up with it. It's usually what, like, RDI does or something. But if we can help them, then it's only good, right? So, okay.
What the state is working on is New England feeding New England. It's part of the farmland thing,
Yeah.
but they have to get 4 million more acres into production to feed New England. And so that's why this funding is being set aside for farmland preservation, because to even get 30% of our population by 2030, it says 30 by 30, 30% by 30,
Mhm.
2030, because they had been hoping to get 50% by 2060, and we're not meeting the goal. So this is where the funding is coming from, is to try to, that feeding, I have that report if anyone wants to look at it, but it's very interesting on, how strategies to get us to be more food secure. And this
Well,
came out of the pandemic because people, we didn't have transportation. We didn't have, all of a sudden,
right.
grocery store shelves were empty,
Yep.
all that kind of stuff.
So,
So you're trying to avoid that.
I understand. And the thing is, we have elderly farmers who aren't farming their land, and that we want to put it into production. And I look at about 8 acres, and 4 of which are mine, that are just going to hay because I'm not a farmer. And honestly, they could probably be rice fields because they're the water table, but but that's okay. They could be rice fields, but you know what I mean. It's not happening. Somebody hays them for me, and that's it. But I'm not alone, and Chet, what's his name, is to the north of me, and he's not even haying anymore half the time. It's really, anyway. I think that we have. We can't be the only one in this situation. So I think that if they want to grow more food, they got to come start talking to old people sitting in farmhouses.
Well, they're trying to get contiguous lots. That's one of the, because your equipment is so big and so expensive, you got to have contiguous lots. It's no different than, there's more woods, more trees than there was when the Pilgrims landed, but it's all broken up.
Not when
like
the Pilgrims, not more than when the Pilgrims landed. It more than,
Yes, yes.
no, they decimated this place, and then now there's more than there was after they decimated.
No, because the Indians used to burn the land. But anyway,
Okay.
what I'm saying is that I'm not going to argue with you, Lily.
Okay. I will back off because I do not know. I was just always told that we have more trees
But
now.
no, but it's all broken up. There is more trees now than ever before the last couple 100 years, and the reason, but it's all broken up individually. Like myself, even
Right.
though I back up into Pat O'Brien's land, I got only 5 acres of woods, but we don't manage it.
Right.
And so what you're trying to do is you put in contiguous farm lots, wood lots together so that you can do a big wildlife and woodlot management. And that's no different than what they're trying to do with the farmland.
Right.
You have to identify a slug in your neighborhood,
Mhm.
and then you apply collectively for programs.
Okay. Well, maybe Chet and I should go for rice. But anyway, so um so that, I mean, I would like us to oh, I have getting feedback. I don't know if others are, but that it would be good for us to be thinking about creative ways. Like I did say to Alex that we had talked about in the past that could we say to elderly farmers, um, if you put your farm into agricultural preservation, thus reducing the cost to a young farmer to buy it, then you'll get 20% off on your rent in the senior housing or whatever. Obviously, that would need to be a funding source to be able to do that. And but that could be like, could we create an incentive program that takes care of the old farmers, but also makes it affordable for young farmers? That would be something we could apply for. It would have to be long term because if you're going to say to somebody, look, you're going to get 20% off your rent, some of these guys are going to last until their 90s. I don't know about you, but I read the obits and there's a lot of old people. We're all hanging in there. So, just we need partners who are creative in their thinking, not just the same old. And unfortunately, that's not usually a government employee, is it? Oh yeah, I forget this is recorded sometimes. Anyway, um, so is anybody have any more questions about that? Any more thoughts about ideas about alternative forms? Or Pam, you've been very quiet tonight.
Lily, going back to what you said about Ned, the town employee,
Yep.
when I went in to talk with another town employee there, I met him, and he's an absolute delight.
great.
Was very excited to hear about what we were trying to do and very interested. But he's just a really, really neat person with a great, very varied experience in his work life. And I just got to say, the town is very lucky to have him.
That's
And Alex, of course, we know is also a wonderful person.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I gotta
we're
say,
very blessed with them.
yeah, town hall is awesome.
Yep.
Really is.
It's worth having extra, everyone says extra staff, but it's more like we're staffed more appropriately than we have been.
Yeah, it's true. Yes, Wendy Foxham took me to task. Blake,
We
did you want
don't
to say
have
something?
any extra staff, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
No, we don't. It's just
And-
more appropriate than it had
and-
been in the past.
And they're
that's all.
still straight out.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And the town planner probably with grant writing brings in more money than she gets paid. So
Oh.
that's, was really part of the argument of getting a town planner is we need to get some grant money if we're going to get things done.
Absolutely.
Well, it's just more complicated to write grants now because everybody has to chase them.
Yep. All right, so one last item on the agenda that Alex brought up with me today was that she was asking us, well, she was saying that we need to develop an RFP to go out for the moving of the St. James structures, the recycling of them, or the demolition of them. To address the St. James structures, to put out an RFP to see if we can find anybody who wants to recycle them, like they did the church next to the YMCA in Greenfield, or move them. But that we should put an RFP out and publish it, just to make sure we've tried everything to try and keep the buildings alive.
Well, the select board has to declare them surplus first
To
before you can remove them.
Okay.
Yes.
Good to know.
So,
Okay.
the select board will have to do that, and then we can RFP it.
Okay. Because I said that we would take the time to write it because she's flat out, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Thoughts from anybody on that? No. Okay.
I think it's a
No, I
great
think that makes
idea.
sense to do it.
Yeah, it's a great idea. We're, got to do something with those buildings.
Yeah. And
Well, they're just going to get more deteriorated.
Yeah.
right. and maybe there's somebody out there somewhere. I know in Hadley years and years and years ago there was a developer who went ahead and built a bunch of buildings and had failed to have a conversation with the town itself. And when they went to go do their they wanted to get hooked up to the sewer system, and the town told them to go pound sand because they hadn't talked to the town at all. And so these three buildings, brand new buildings, sat there for years, and a UMass graduate student took them apart piece by piece and recycled them all as part of his, graduate work.
Yeah, now that's part of, what is it, the Kestrel Trust?
Yeah, yeah. It's
I
pretty,
drove past it just the other day.
yeah.
I remember those houses and thought, that the guy wanted an approval, whatever it's called, to start selling them, start having people move in, and the town said, no,
That's not
no,
happening.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh boy. That developer is presumably out of business. But anyway, also I did forget to update you all that the Alex got us a brownfields assessment grant for the St.
Mhm.
James property, and she just heard from them today. Well, literally 10 minutes before I was talking to her, and they're going to put together a site visit. And so their evaluation is going to look at the buildings and say whether or not they require a hazardous materials management to dispose of them or deal with them in any way, shape, or form, right? And there may be some parts of a given building that are a problem and other parts are not. And if you can separate them, then the cost of disposal, if that's where you go, is much less because you've separated out the hazardous part by having this done. And also, this will be a real plus in the eyes of any developer that we've taken this step as well and identified all of this.
Did you ever go into the basement of the house?
I,
Yes.
I did.
Was there asbestos on the piping?
Oh,
I
what?
don't remember.
Asbestos. Asbestos.
Asbestos on the piping, the
I don't
heating
think
system.
so. But the thing is, it was done over, so you didn't see all of it because they did classes down there. So
Oh,
there were some walls up and that kind of thing. So I didn't really look, but from what I can tell, I would have noticed if there was asbestos on them. And I
okay.
don't think I'm not for sure. I can go back down and look, that's for sure. So
Might have been covered
Oh,
up.
no, if we're getting someone to do it,
Yeah.
it's just that, that's the only thing I could think of in the house. If they had old tile or asbestos heating system, and
And
then,
it's the right age for that, so
yeah, and I don't know about the church. The church might be pretty clean.
I would think because there's not much to it, right? It's a
Yeah,
shell pretty
they
much.
didn't have very much utilities there, so that might be pretty clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be just so great if somebody wanted to take it and turn it into a brew
I
pub like
know,
they did in Greenfield, but
I know, but they might,
yeah,
somebody might.
somebody might. So that's all the news that's fit to print. Does anybody else have anything else they want to bring up? All right, so here's what I propose. I will create a folder on the shared drive, send you all a link to it. I'll create a document and we'll call it Spaghetti on the Wall. All right? Any idea, no matter how crazy, that you can think of that we could use $500,000 to do something for senior housing and actually even the town, because if we had that sewage treatment pumping, that helps everybody, not just senior housing, but if we could tie it to the ADU things, then that's how we can tie it into senior housing. But if you think of other things, be creative. And I'll call it Spaghetti on the Wall, and I'll send everybody the link and ask you to throw your spaghetti on the wall. Okay?
Okay,
good.
Yep.
And I propose that we next meet, not next week, but the week after, I think, which is April 8th. Can you believe it'll be April?
I know. So that will be after Easter. Wow, I
I
know.
know. Does that work for folks? That gives you
Yeah.
2 weeks to come up with things. In the meantime, I will I will meet with Ned and Alex about the septic stuff, and I will put that in the same drive and share those links with you with whatever I find out about, like, this is what ours says, this is what the state says, this is what the. And then Carolyn will say, the reason ours says it is because our water table is 3 inches from the surface.
Well, I mean, that's really a serious consideration.
I know. I know.
Stuff just doesn't perk
I know. And
because of
I think
the
there was
wet.
so was there something that um we're not allowing Turkey Hills anymore?
You are if you have an existing system. You just can't build and put one
No,
in.
it says no
Because
mounds
those
for
are
new
tendency to
construction.
fail.
Right.
Yeah, those have a tendency to fail. So, but if you have no choice and your system is already failing, then you're allowed to put those in because
No,
it's
but
better.
so so
They're very expensive and they have a much shorter lifespan. They only have a lifespan of about 20 years. So it's
the Turkey Hills?
yeah. So it's not. That's why we don't allow new construction with those because you say you live there for a while and then you sell it to somebody and they had no idea that it was going to be failed in 3 or 4 years. That kind of thing. It was passed when you bought it, but it was going to set. It was aging out, and
So
so
what
that
is it that ages out the leach field? I mean, what? I don't understand.
it has to do with when you do the filtration, you
Mhm.
have particles that don't completely
Ah,
go away and yet they build
they
up.
build up.
And then filtration, the ability to filtrate the water declines. And what happens is you have leaking septic. And so that's how you get
So
E.
it and
coli.
it hasn't gotten all clean because it wasn't filtering.
Right. And you got to make sure that you're filtrating clean water out of your leach field.
Mhm.
And you just get a buildup. When you have that built up system, it has a much shorter lifespan than, even if you're careful, than a normal septic system.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. So let me, this is totally off topic in a way, but so if you have a leach field, a regular one, not a turkey mound, right? But that's going to fail at some point too, right? Because doesn't that eventually happen to all of them? No?
No. Well, like ours, we had no septic system when we bought our house, okay? And nothing perked at my house. So it goes down the hill, across to our lot, across the street, okay? So this is like a massive, so we had to put in this massive system. So we put and we already had 6 bedrooms. So we put in a 12-bedroom size septic system across the street. But I have been always very careful of what goes down our drain, what you use for laundry detergent, what you use for toilet paper, so that our system should be good forever. But it depends on where you put it. That's sand over there. And so it just, filtrates unbelievably. But everywhere, like in South Deerfield, like on Whately Road and all those places, everybody's septic system is on the verge of failure. And you're nursing it along by making sure you're using the correct laundry detergent, the correct, whatever, and you put bugs in it so that it will eat up stuff better. And so you put in those little pods of
Yep.
bacteria and stuff like that you can do that extends the life. So you can be very careful, or you can just abuse it no matter how good it is by putting cooking oil and all kinds of crap in there, and then or bleach. People use a lot of cleaning materials and they kill all the bugs, and then it fails. So you have to be sort of educated to nurse it along, and it shouldn't ever fail if you're careful.
Okay. Good to know. All right.
If it's properly designed, if it was a screwy design, that's why you have it reviewed by the town so that you have a good design for what the soil is in that lot.
Okay.
And so it's not as easy as just saying, okay, we're going to put a little bit bigger size here. There's a lot of factors involved. That's
All
why you
right.
have to be certified to look at it.
Okay. Thank you, Carolyn. It was total meeting drift, and I apologize to everybody else, but I learned a lot, as always, in a conversation with Carolyn. All right. So we're all good about meeting on April 8th as our next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay, and
that's
everybody's going to be thinking of spaghetti, and they will throw it against the wall.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
might be away actually that day, but I'm just
okay.
sorry.
Oh,
But
you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to talk about
did
the
the
minutes.
minutes.
Thank you. See, this is really good, Kathy. I was just reviewing what you've been doing. Whoops. Oh, yes. So, any motions about the minutes from the 4th of March?
I make a motion to approve them as presented.
Second,
All right. All those in favor: Pam Predmore,
yes.
Kathy Sylvester,
Yes.
Carolyn Ness,
Yes.
Blake Gilmore.
Yes, if I was here, I don't know if I was there for that one.
Okay. Well,
If not, I abstain.
okay. And Lily Dwight, yes. All right. So approved unanimously. And our next meeting will be April 8th at 5 o'clock. And I would entertain any motions regarding adjournment.
I'll
I
make
make
that
a
motion.
motion. I second it.
All
Yeah.
right. All those in favor, you can just raise your hands. Aye, aye, aye. That's unanimous. Thank you all. Recording is stopped.